Welcome to everyone. I'm excited to spend some time with you today as we refresh your understanding on how to best use IXL to motivate students towards a more intentional learning and rigorous practice on IXL. I hope you are all enjoying your snow day today and you are watching this at a time when you're able to take in all this information and get re-energized and refocused on IXL. My name is Maureen Schrader. I am the Senior Professional Learning Manager for the Northeast and East Central region. And the most important bit of information on the screen is going to be my email address for you. It is maureenS@IXL.com. Obviously, you're not able to answer questions during this session, so feel free to jot those questions down and email them directly to me. I'd be happy to support you once you get a chance to go through this information. If any questions do pop up, feel free to send them my way. I do like to start all of my sessions kind of level setting on what IXL is all about. And we are an end-to-end teaching and learning solution that's going to include a comprehensive pre-K through 12th grade curriculum, along with its personalized guidance. We have some amazing new instructional tools and classroom engagement resources. We have a first of its kind assessment suite, along with our actionable analytics. We have them at the district level, the school level, the classroom level, and all the way down to your individual learners. And then finally, we do like to partner with our schools to make sure that you're getting the best implementation support that you can. And all of this is going to be integrated into a single platform where each component is designed to work together seamlessly. You can pick and choose the parts that you use, and it's going to give you the tools and the insights that you need to maximize learning for every single student. Now, in addition to our flagship IXL product, we have grown quite a bit over the last several years to encompass a family of educational products. Some of them might look familiar to you, like Rosetta Stone or Teacher Pay Teachers, but we do have many, many products. If you are interested in learning anything about any of the other products in our family and brands, just reach out to me by email. To give you an idea of what we plan to cover today, we're going to be focused on IXL, obviously. And I'm going to show you how you can take your use of IXL to the next level. We have done extensive research, including statewide studies in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, that are going to show how IXL schools outperform other schools. And the longer that students use IXL, the better they're going to do in standardized type tests. So I'm going to show you some of those proven strategies so you can see those same amazing results in your own classrooms. We're going to take a look at the diagnostic first, and I'll show you how you can use this tool to personalize learning for your students. Then we're going to take a look at our curriculum and how it's going to support any learning need your students have at any time throughout the year. And then we'll finish off our time together today looking at some of IXL's engagement tools that are going to empower you with strategies to keep your students engaged with their use of IXL. One of those exciting strategies, which I'm excited to talk about today before we jump into all the ways that you can use IXL to drive student performance, is to announce an exciting engagement strategy that Mastery Charter Schools will be using beginning Monday, January 22nd. So if you were in person today, or if we were together virtually today, this will be before the contest starts. It's going to be your IXL March Math Madness. So your IXL administrators have created this fun school versus school competition using IXL leaderboards. The competition is going to run from Monday, January 22nd to Thursday, March 21st. And this competition is meant to engage students and encourage them to work intentionally in IXL. We want to make sure that they are at the level of rigor that we would expect them to work at. So we are going to be measuring the most number of correct answers in skills that are at an appropriate grade level for each student. So that means that students can work in skills on or above grade level, and they can also work in skills that are up to 5 grade levels below their current grade level. So stay tuned for weekly status updates to see how your school measures up, and definitely encourage your students to do their very best. Any questions you have about this can be directed to me or to your IXL administrators or to any of your admin, and they should be able to give you some additional insights. One of the best ways to ensure that students are working on skills that are rigorous enough for them is to utilize IXL's real-time diagnostic. As you might be familiar, IXL offers many different tools to help students learn and grow, and IXL can pinpoint gaps in knowledge and create personalized action plans for each student to help them grow from where they are right now. So our diagnostic really is a game changer because it's not what you would think of when you think of a typical assessment. Unlike other assessments, our diagnostic is equally useful for administrators in capturing data and also for teachers on the day-to-day. So meaning it's not going to just spit out a score for you and stop there. It's designed to support your everyday teaching. Traditional assessments can often be very time-consuming for both teachers and students, and they can feel scary or very high stakes for some students. They do a good job at measuring knowledge, but keep in mind it's only in a single fixed moment in time. And these results, often from these exams, are not actionable. So you might understand what a student knows and doesn't know, but it takes work on your end to figure out how to help them. So our diagnostic is going to be different. It is specifically designed to support instruction. So to make delivering highly personalized, highly targeted instruction and intervention a more straightforward process. IXL's diagnostic also works really efficiently to capture insights on student knowledge, and it keeps those insights constantly updated, giving you information on your students that is always accurate. And the information you get from the diagnostic is directly and immediately actionable. They're not just numbers. So the real-time diagnostic is going to generate an action plan for each student with skills that each learner can work on to grow from where they are and to help fill their knowledge gaps. So every student will have different skill plans and different skills on their action plan based on their specific responses to questions in the diagnostic. The diagnostic also offers a very positive experience for students. The questions will be engaging, and it's a safe space for students to tap into their innate curiosity to learn more about themselves. So I'll jump into it in just a few minutes so you can see it for yourself. And then finally, as I mentioned, the diagnostic is equally useful for both administrators and teachers. So rather than being a tool that only administrators have control over. As teachers, you can use the insights from the action plans to support your day-to-day instruction. The IXL diagnostic is also nationally normed now from kindergarten through 12th grade to provide educators with additional information and context on their students' performance compared to their peers nationwide. So we are going to talk a little bit more about how IXL's diagnostic also serves purposes at the school and district level in a few minutes. But before I jump into that, I do want to take a look at what a student experiences when they're in our diagnostic. So when students are going to jump into the diagnostic, they have the ability here to step into the arena. When they sign into IXL, they're going to land right here on their dashboard. And I'm sure you've had a chance to see this with your own students. The student dashboard makes it really easy for students to take charge of their learning journey and provides quick access to what they should be working on next. So here they're going to have the "What should I work on" section. It makes it easy for students to quickly jump into meaningful work on IXL. They're going to be able to see the skills that you've assigned in the "From Your Teacher" section. They also have access to skills that they've worked on recently. If they have worked on any, this is my demo account, so I don't have any recent skills. Or they can jump into the recommendations wall and find out some skills that might be recommended for them if they're ready for more. And at the bottom, they also have some progress monitoring. Students can celebrate their progress with these high-level data points, and they have access to their awards and also to any leaderboards as well. So we'll take each of these components and look at them a little bit more in depth. But I did want to, before we leave the dashboard, show you the fun feature for students. They're able to also customize this. So they're able to change the theme based on their current mood. or age. So maybe today's a snow day, maybe I'm feeling pretty snowy. So I can jump in here and change it to a winter theme. It's just a way for students to engage and connect to IXL in a different way. I know you're working with older students, but even the older students like to have some of that customization. So throughout the session today, if I do say that students can access something from their dashboard, this is what I'm referring to. So if you've assigned the diagnostic to your students, they'll be able to step into the arena right here from their dashboard. So don't worry if you forget to assign it. They can always also jump into the arena by clicking assessment at any time. So as I jump in here, you'll notice that when a student first enters the arena, they get to pick between 2 questions to answer. So both of these questions are going to be from their rostered grade level. This student choice is a big part of the diagnostic experience because it does allow them to take an active role in the diagnosing process and motivates them to continue answering questions. So they can select whichever one they're more confident with. Let's go my 9s. Like I know my 9s pretty well. You'll see it is a very positive experience. Questions are going to be engaging and students are going to learn more about themselves, and it will empower them to continue to drive forward. These questions are also going to be adaptive. So if I do make a mistake, still very positive, but the questions will adapt to an easier question to really target exactly what types of questions are appropriate for me to pinpoint what grade level I am currently working on. Now, if students do have access to multiple subjects, then they have the ability to select one subject only. Your students are going to be looking at this from the math perspective, so I'll just jump into math only here. Students also have access to a scratch pad, so if they do want to do any work on the screen as they're trying to figure out their answers, they can definitely do that. I also recommend to teachers to maybe have a math journal available so students are putting their work in some place that you can go back and review and check it with them. The scratch pad is going to be temporary, but those journals are something that you could go back and check later. If a student does come to a question that they simply don't know the answer to yet, they do have the option to skip that question. So if I don't feel like I know what numbers are prime, I can skip this. The diagnostic will mark that as an incorrect answer, but it's going to continue moving me forward in the diagnostic process. And then if I just continue to click, I don't know this yet, over and over. That's 3/4. There we go. I wanted to make sure I was able to get to the point where students are going to be able to see their levels. After they answer just a few questions, they'll be able to check their current levels by clicking here to see exactly where they're falling within each of the 6 mathematical strands. So slowly the diagnostic is identifying a couple of skills that I might need to support some of my knowledge gaps based on the answers I've given so far. So you can see I'm already narrowing down my levels. I have these recommendations, and hopefully it will help me continue to grow. So as a teacher, you're also going to be able to see all of your students' diagnostic levels in your account, and we'll take a look at the teacher's perspective in just a few minutes. Diagnostic is also very efficient. It's going to vary by student, but we do recommend allocating about 60 minutes per subject to pinpoint students' knowledge levels. So once students have completed their initial diagnostic, they'll be notified with this celebration screen that their diagnostic is currently up to date or completed. And so it's important to know that students' work in the diagnostic does not have to happen all in one sitting. It can be done in smaller chunks of time throughout the week where we are continuing to save their progress until we have enough information about them that we can give an accurate depiction of what their current grade level proficiency would be and what would be the appropriate skills for them to practice next. Now, the powerful piece, or the money piece of our diagnostic, I believe, is truly in our personalized action plans. The diagnostic is going to generate a personalized action plan for each student, They're going to get specific next steps based on their results, and we'll even link them directly to the exact skills that they need in IXL. So students are savvy and they sometimes know how to avoid skills they're going to be challenging or rigorous for them. Your goal in using IXL is to direct students to the skills that will have the biggest impact on their personal growth. And the personalized action plans that you find in IXL are going to be a great step in that direction. It's a very low lift way for teachers to ensure that students are accessing the best skills in IXL for them. Now, students can easily access the diagnostic action plan on their account, and you can see a plan for each of your students in your diagnostic action center. So I'm going to take you there first. As we go here, I want to click on my assessment here. If you do want to assign the diagnostic, you would do it from your diagnostic action center in that assessment tab. All you need to do is simply click that star once, and that diagnostic will stay assigned to your students all year long. So they can continue to jump in and update their levels. And then you'll see a drop-down menu here with all of your students, so you can easily see what their current levels are. This is going to look exactly like your students. So here I can see a student that has a star at the end of each of their strands, which means that they are currently up to date. And I can also see the current skills that are being recommended to that student within each of the strands as well. So this student is at a 560 overall in math. So that level corresponds to grade levels. That means that this student is about 60% of the way proficient in 5th grade math content. So a 400 means the student's ready to start 4th grade material. For your students, an 800 would mean a student's ready to start 8th grade material. And then if students also had access to other subjects, they would see their language arts diagnostic results at the bottom of the page. On a student account, this is where they're going to access that diagnostic action plan. And let's see if it will open up for me here. Let me pop it up. So we're looking at this diagnostic action plan here for your students. Here we're able to see those levels. This is going to be an interactive PDF that identifies the top skills that students should work on to see growth in each strand. This is a great way for students to start using their independent work time. Also, it can be done at home. And it is important to note that these recommendations are going to be truly personalized. So 2 students might both have a 780 in numbers and operations, but they know different things. So they'll have different recommendations given to them based on that. So as we jump back over here into our accounts, we jump back over into our slide deck here. So I want to make sure that you see when students do have their pinpointed levels, you want to make sure that they keep those levels up to date so that you know that the diagnostic is giving you up-to-date information on your students' knowledge every day. So students will keep returning to the diagnostic arena on a weekly basis for about 10 minutes. This is going to allow the diagnostic to see exactly what students know now and keep you up to date as they progress. Also, students should continue working on IXL skills. So we don't want them just diagnosing, we want them actually closing some of those knowledge gaps and showing some skill gains. They do that by practicing in IXL skills. So as they work in skills, that progress is also going to be automatically incorporated into their diagnostic level. So you have a full, meaningful portrait of your students' knowledge. Now, I mentioned earlier, I know some of your students have already been using IXL snapshots mode to gain benchmark data. I mentioned that administrators also are using the diagnostic as a tool to monitor progress across schools potentially. So our diagnostic snapshots will allow administrators to select one or more specific times during the year to prompt students to complete their diagnostic and capture their levels. The administrator can set up snapshot windows from their account, and the insights from previous snapshots are always going to be available as well. So snapshots allow administrators to track how students progress between each snapshot window. And in this way, you can use IXL diagnostic to capture benchmark data. One thing to note here, if your students have maintained their levels and have been visiting the diagnostic on a weekly basis, when those snapshot windows open up, students often have to answer just a handful of questions to capture that data again for the snapshot. So they don't have to put a significant amount of time into the diagnostic during those windows. We just pull over everything we know from their real-time diagnostic right into the snapshot. They answer a few questions to make sure that we have the right information, and then we capture that. So as I said, I will be giving my email address again at the end. As you have questions on these things, jot them down. There's a lot of information I shared with you about the diagnostic. Feel free to email me any questions to make sure that I am providing the support that you need. So shifting gears here, jumping into IXL skills, you may have noticed as you've been using IXL that we do take everything that students learn in pre-K through 12th grade and break this down into a path with every step along the way. So we've got no gaps in that path, and we do that with over 10,000 skills. We've analyzed and we've mapped out how each skill connects to and supports and builds on other skills. So this comprehensive curriculum map, combined with our sophisticated technology, is going to be an incredible resource for all of you. So there are many other ways our curriculum supports your classroom. There's the diagnostic, but there's a lot of ways you can use our skills in your classrooms as well. So we're going to jump into our skill library. So as I jump over to my student account here, and I'm sure you're familiar with IXL skills because you have been using IXL a lot, but I do want to point out some things that you might not have noticed yet. We are taking a skill and taking the opportunity to, let me just jump into, here we go. Here we go. We are really breaking down this concept into small building blocks, and they're going to be very targeted to allow students to build mastery of this concept one step at a time. So whether students are tackling new concepts or reinforcing what they learn in class, maybe they're self-remediating, they're going to have some built-in instructional resources that provide support that students can use while they're working on their own to pull apart concepts and build a deep understanding of skills. So I do want to look at what a student would experience as they're practicing in IXL. So as I go here, subtract one from both sides. Students are seeing one question at a time. Again, when they answer questions correctly, you'll see that they are able to get that positive feedback. On the right-hand side, we're keeping track of the number of questions they've answered, the amount of time that they've spent on this question, and also their growing SMART score. If they do answer a question incorrectly, they also get some immediate feedback that is going to allow them to figure out exactly in the moment, in this step-by-step explanation, what they should have done so that they can get back on track very quickly here. As they progress through that skill, they're also going to see the SMART score that will grow as they're answering questions correctly and may dip a bit if they answer questions incorrectly. So I do want to dive into that SMART score for just a few minutes because I think it's really important as you're making sure students are working with intention and they're working on rigorous skills, what that SMART score might have to do with it. We do want to encourage students to keep on working to mark their achievements. So we give them ribbons at the SMART score of 70, 80, and 90, and then they receive a medal when they reach a 100 on IXL. So we just know that we consider a SMART score of 80 is proficiency, 90 is excellence, and 100 is mastery level for a skill. So it will be important to note as you are setting expectations for your students to make sure that they are shooting for that proficiency level. Students could spend a lot of time getting from proficiency to mastery, but they might have greater impact and more gains if they would spend that time maybe in multiple skills, both each skill moving to proficiency rather than one skill going to mastery. The SMART score is an advanced algorithm. It's going to be unique to IXL, and it's meant to measure a student's true understanding of a concept at any given time, and it's going to provide real-time support to make learning stick. It also shows students that mastery is always within reach. So although our SMART score does go from 0 up to 100, it is not a percentage score. Unlike a typical scoring system that simply shows a student answered, say, 8 out of 10 questions correctly, the SMART score is going to be dynamic. It takes a growth mindset approach, letting students know that a score of 100, which is our mastery level, is always within reach, even if they struggle initially. The SMART score is going to recognize where learners are in their understanding and then adapts to offer them a just right level of difficulty. Learning in this way, helping them to power through setbacks, allows them to not only cement their knowledge, but it also builds the necessary grit and determination that they need to keep at it. And because it is intentionally designed this way, the SMART score enables students to make even greater learning gains. So our research shows that when students persevere through temporary SMART score setbacks, meaning that if they experience their score going up and down in a skill, they'll ultimately achieve greater academic gains than when they have a steady upward trajectory. This is known as the productive struggle. And instead of forgetting what they've learned once the moment has passed, students actually lock in those knowledge gains. So with IXL, students experience the unique and magical feeling of earned success. And the pride and momentum that comes from that working through that setback often drives students to continue their learning up towards that beyond proficiency level. So what does this mean for a teacher? We'll go through some best practices here. It's all really about setting goals and communicating those expectations. On IXL, we consider a SMART score of 80 to be proficiency, 90 to be excellence, and 100 is mastery level. So a SMART score of 100 means that student has truly mastered that material. This is going to be a very high standard, and it is challenging to achieve. So when we want students working on rigorous skills, we want to set realistic expectations. And expecting everyone to get to a 100 is not necessarily an appropriate goal for all students. It'd be like expecting them to get an A+ on every assignment, and that's just not realistic. So we have seen in study after study that reaching a SMART score of 80 or proficiency is going to positively impact students' performance on state assessments, with reaching proficiency in at least 2 skills per week having the greatest impact. So most teachers will tell their students, reach a SMART score of 80. You could also consider setting a slightly lower goal when students are first learning a concept and then challenging them to grow from there by the end of the unit. And then you can remind students that they can always keep working to reach that 100 on their own time, or they can jump over to another skill so they can stretch those gains. When you set that meaningful expectation for your students, encouraging them to strive for proficiency or mastery instead of bouncing around from skill to skill. IXL can help them gain a foundation that's going to stay with them and will help them grow. Now, as you are thinking about setting intentional SMART score goals, I do encourage you to use our jump a level feature to get a better idea of the types of questions students see in a particular skill. So if I jump over to my teacher account and I want to jump into a skill, notice on your toolbar here, our stats bar is slightly different. You have this option for teacher tools. This is going to give you the ability to jump levels and progress to the next level of difficulty within any skill. So this allows you to see the various levels and question types within the given skill, and the SMART score associated with it. So if I want to see the types of questions they're getting in a SMART score around 47, I can see this example. If I want to go all the way up to a SMART score of 80 or proficiency, I can see the types of questions they would be expected to answer in order to hit that proficiency level. So it gives you a lot of insights on whether or not this is the appropriate skill for your students, and also setting the expectation for them to get to that proficiency level. If you do have any questions about skill practice or SMART score, shoot them my way by email and I'd be happy to address them. Okay, so you're all familiar with IXL skills, but I'm wondering, I know you've been using this for a while, but maybe you haven't even paid attention to some of the little details that are built into the skills to support your students, these little instructional resources. So let's take a look at some of these resources available to you and your students. As I'm in this skill here, I can highlight some of them for you. Let me jump to a new skill just so that you're seeing it from the very beginning, because this skill, since I've already done jump a level, is showing something slightly different. So let's jump in. I'm going to get to the skill here through its permanent skill ID. You might have seen me use this already. If you want to type in any skill ID, these are 3 character codes, and I'll explain them in a little bit more depth in a few minutes. But this allows you to type in that 3 character code to quick jump into any skill. First off, I wanted to show you this learn with an example. These example questions are accessible at the beginning of any math or language arts skill. The example problems are going to give students a preview of what's to come, so they can again go through and see the questions. If there's any key vocabulary, that will be listed in here as well, and then a step-by-step solution for that particular problem. This could give them a gentle nudge to get ready for their learning. In addition to the Learn with an Example, we also have our IXL video tutorials. If you haven't seen these yet, these are amazing. These now go through most of our high school skills. We have thousands of video tutorials for our math and language arts skills, with videos available for math skills from 2nd grade through pre-calculus, and also some 6th through 8th grade writing skills. These are going to be the perfect resource to support students who are learning independently. I'm just going to quickly share the computer sound here so you can see what this would look like or sound like.
In this video, we'll be solving multi-step equations and justifying each step as we go. Let's get started. Complete the process to solve the equation. -2 times the sum of r plus 8 equals 4. Let's take a look at how this process works. We're writing down equations on.
You get the idea here. I'll close this out. But these are going to be bite-sized videos that support a concept covered in the skill. And they're going to walk students through how to use effective strategies to answer questions similar to the ones that they see in that skill. So students have the option of watching the video tutorial when they first start a skill, or this option will slide over to the right and it will remain there throughout the skill. So at any time, students can get the support and instruction that they need to continue making progress. Another great thing about these videos is that they empower parents to help children at home. Oftentimes when students are working in some higher level math, they don't have the ability to go through and help them, but this is going to maybe explain a concept to parents who are a bit unsure. They can use these videos to help better support their child. Students also have access to that same scratch pad that they have available in the diagnostic, where they're able to highlight or draw or write or work out or mark up or annotate on the screen. Again, I do recommend having a math journal if you want to keep that as a reference so that you can go back and review that with students at a later time. I want to show you one more resource that IXL provides students. If students are working through a skill and they're struggling, they can always use the in-skill recommendations near the bottom of the skill under Work It Out. In-skill recommendations are resources that support the skill the student is currently working on. So one resource would be other IXL skills, specifically building block skills that support the skill the student is currently working on. In this case, we can go back a step to solving linear equations. And maybe students would start here before they advance to the next skill. If they feel pretty confident, they can always go back and return to the original skill. And actually, they can click back as many levels as they need to. So they could jump into one skill and then continue to jump back until they are at a level they feel like they can tackle those problems successfully. Another resource students might see in the in-skill recommendations is the lesson section. These are going to be available for math in grades 3 through geometry. And this is going to be like a mini study guide. Each lesson introduces the topic, provides a high-level review of key vocabulary, and also walks through example problems, offering students a straightforward way to learn the building blocks of a concept. And then when students are again ready, they can go back to the original skill. The Work It Out skills and the lesson recommendations will appear from the time the student begins working on the skill until they reach the challenge zone, which means a SMART score of 90. Let me jump into the student account here and jump into another skill that I have successfully reached that SMART score of 90. And you'll notice that these skills now change to next up skills. So once students enter the challenge zone, these are going to be the skills that are going to build on the current skill. So these are the skills a student might be ready to start next. So a great opportunity for extension for your students as you're looking to encourage them to work more rigorously in IXL. This is a great option. For your middle school and high school students, IXL recommendations are a critical learning tool for building independence. They empower students to identify and fix their own knowledge gaps. And they show them that even if a teacher or a parent isn't around, they can find ways to help and propel themselves forward. So another great option for them. So if you haven't noticed any of these instructional resources in the past, hopefully you'll give some of them a try in the future. Just a quick review for any of you who have maybe not been using IXL to assign skills. We've discussed ways that you can have students complete the diagnostic and have us generate a personalized action plan so they know exactly what they should be working on to maximize individual growth. But that's not the only way to use IXL. Another way to use IXL is to find and assign skills that align with your instructional objectives. And so that's where we're going to jump in now. Going back to my teacher account, we'll look at this teacher perspective. Where you also have this My IXL. This is going to house your dashboard, also your engagement tools, along with your learning, assessment, and analytics tabs. So if you are signed into your account, you're going to jump into your learning tab. On IXL, you have access to thousands of skills to support all of your lessons and all of our state standards. We've organized our skills in several different ways that make it easy for you to find just the right skill you're looking for to support your learning objective and to fit into your daily routine. So first off, by default, you're going to be looking at these skills in grade view. So each of the grade level landing pages is filled with skills for practicing very specific topics for that grade. So as I jump into, say, 8th grade here, it's a great place to start to begin finding skills that are appropriate for students in a particular grade level. Now, there are hundreds of skills per grade. This one has 361 skills. So it's not expected that they're going to complete every skill. So you get to decide what they're going to work on in IXL and what they're going to learn elsewhere. If you're ever trying to decide whether a skill is appropriate or not, you do have this skill preview feature or function where you can hover over any skill and see some example questions at various levels of difficulty to be sure that students would be able to tackle each of these types of questions. One of the easiest ways for teachers to find skills is using our skill plans. Still in that learning tab, skill plans make it simple to find the exact skills that match your state standards, your textbook chapters, and maybe prepare students for high stakes tests. So in these skill plans, our curriculum team has mapped out your current instructional resources and then custom built IXL skills to precisely match each topic you'll cover. We do have 4 different types of skill plans, all listed here in the Jump To menu. And today I'm going to really highlight the test prep skill plans. But I also encourage you to use the others because we do have test prep time or testing time drawing closer. I encourage you to check out our state standards for both PA and New Jersey, as well as your textbook alignment for Agile Minds. So keep in mind that we are aligned to both of those. IXL is designed to be flexible with and work with whatever plan or whatever way you plan your lessons. So jumping into test preparation, we have created test prep skill plans for the ACTs, the SATs, NWEA map growth, TABE. We also have our keystones for our Pennsylvania teachers. We have keystones for Algebra 1 and Lit. We also have the PSSAs available here. For our New Jersey teachers, we're also aligned to some New Jersey specific test prep. So this is a great place to go to help prepare your students to excel on high stakes tests. So if I jump into the Keystone, for instance, for Algebra 1, here I'm going to see different modules. The standard will be over on the left-hand side, and the IXL skills that align to that standard will be listed over on the right-hand side. And this allows you to easily see the skills that might be recommended for your students so that they can prepare and excel in a Keystone's exam. Keystone exam. One other thing I want to recommend here, if you do find skill plans that you love, if you're going to use Agile Mind, if you're going to use the PA state standards or the New Jersey state standards, where you're going to say, use one of these test prep options, you'll notice a gray push pin to the left-hand side of every skill plan name. Make sure you click on that push pin to light it up. That is going to allow you to do several different things. You'll be able to pull data based on your pin skill plans. You'll also have better visibility to your skill plans. So now that that's pinned, if I go back to my dashboard, I'll be able to see that my skill plans, I think I clicked it, let me see. There we go. So now that's going to be pulled to the top of my list. It will also be over on my dashboard. So as soon as I sign in, I have access to any of the skill plans that I have pinned And so I can check my students' progress really easily, or I can assign skills very quickly right from here. Speaking of assigning skills, once you have chosen the skill that you would like your students to work on, I'll just jump into Edge Online here to show you this. The next step is to assign that to your students. So I'm in the 7th grade textbook here. Let's say I'm working on topic 6, maybe topic 8 at this point of the year, and I want to assign some skills. As you saw, our skills are going to be great for students to complete independently. So as they work, they get that immediate feedback to correct any misunderstandings. And that independent practice can be done in the classroom or as a part of homework. So IXL does offer you a few different ways to simply assign skills so students know what they should be working on wherever they're working on it. First off, just like that gray push pin next to the skill plans, you have a gray star next to every skill name. This is our suggested skills feature. If you hover over any star, you're going to see a drop-down menu that would include an option for all of your students, or if your students are broken down into classes, you'll see the option for each of your classes. So you can assign skills to all of your students, a specific class, or even to individual students simply by clicking on that star. And then to remove a suggestion, you simply click on the star again to remove. Now, students are going to be able to very easily get to the skills that you suggest on their From Your Teacher section of the dashboard that we saw at the beginning of the session. In addition to that star feature, we also have a share option located in every skill. So if I want to access this share option, click into a skill. You still have the ability to star it from here if you choose to. I do recommend, however you're assigning skills to your students, always take a second to click that star because you'll be able to pull data for your currently suggested skills a little bit more easily in your analytics. Over on the right-hand side here, we have our share skill. Here you can copy a unique URL for the skill to be used in conjunction with your learning management system, a teacher website, a homework website, an assignment document. And if you are using Google Classroom, we also have the option to drop this skill directly into your Google Classroom account and assign it directly from there. And I've mentioned several times our permanent skill ID. They're the 3-character codes that you'll see next to all of our skills. These are going to be unique, and it's a quick and easy way to assign skills to your students. You can write it on your whiteboard or include it, the skill ID on an assignment document or a task card. And then students can easily find the skill by typing the skill ID into their magnifying glass at the top of the page. So no matter how you're assigning skills for your students, you also want to make sure that you are setting expectations and mentioning what your SMART score goal should be. So letting them know either a blanket statement that a SMART score of 80 is always the expectation. 80 and go is a good motto or mantra, or 80 and go. That way they can know when they can stop a skill, but to make sure that you are also communicating expectations in your assignments to your students. Okay, I know I've given a lot of information so far. Again, at any time, you can feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to support by email. Let's shift gears one more time here because I want to show you some ways that you can use IXL to make learning extra fun and motivating for your students. We do offer built-in engagement tools that you can use to create collaborative learning opportunities and friendly competitions. So first off, the group jam. Not only are IXL skills a great tool for independent practice, but they can also be used as a key part of your direct instruction. So group jams are a fun way to engage your entire class. You could use it to check for understanding or practice as a group or create a friendly in-class competition. So as I go into my account here and go up to my, back to my IXL, you can start a group jam right here from the My IXL tab, or from the skill practice page. If you're in a skill practice page just under teacher tools, and jump a level, you'll see the option to start a group jam. But I'm going to do it from here just to show you a different way. So if you are starting the group jam from the classroom engagement tab, you can search for any skill from here. You can browse through the IXL curriculum, first by subject. You could also search for a specific skill or topic. And you'll notice that you can also assign based on any skill plans that you have pinned or any skills that you have currently suggested. So I'm going to jump into my midpoint skill here. Group jams are going to be a perfect whole group instruction opportunity, or you could use it when you're working with small groups. I'm going to assign this to my 5th graders here. You have the flexibility of inviting whoever you'd like to join the jam, whether it's whole groups, small groups, or even specific students. And group jams are going to be different from skill practice because all participants, including the teacher and the students, are going to see the same question on their screen at the same time. You may have noticed as your students have been working in regular skill practice that they're seeing unique questions. In a group jam, it allows the teacher to assess students on the same content, exactly the same question as they're moving through the jam. So you can engage your students through thoughtful questions or encourage them to begin thinking through and answering the questions on their own. So now that this has started on my teacher perspective, I'm going to jump over to my student account. And you'll notice for the students, whenever a student is, whatever they're doing in IXL, when a group jam begins, they can easily join the jam with just a click. You'll notice that as soon as the student joins the jam, they're going to see the same question that the teacher sees. And students also have access to that same scratch pad so they can work out answers on their screen. And they get that immediate feedback as well. So they're going to get that immediate feedback. They can also go through and review the explanation while they're waiting for the rest of the class to continue or to answer their questions. On the teacher side of things, in addition to seeing the question, teachers also have additional information to equip them with an efficient way to check for students' understanding. So student avatars will appear at the top of the screen, and they're going to update as students respond to the question. You can even hover over the avatar if you want to see the name of the student and the answer that they've submitted. And then when you're ready, you can move the class on to review. The review is going to provide an opportunity for everyone to see and discuss the explanation together. It's also going to give you a clear breakdown of how students performed in the group jam. Once you've discussed this, if you feel pretty confident you can move on, you can make the next question at the same level of difficulty, or you can make it a little bit harder or easier when that's available. You'll see this question. It's a little bit more challenging than the first. So group jams are going to be a great way to engage your entire class on IXL. They'll be the perfect way to use IXL as part of your direct instruction or as part of your formative assessment. So you can end the jam at any time. Also note you can add or do a gradual release of students at any time. And when you end the jam, your students will land right on their skill practice page so they can begin their independent practice to solidify their understanding of the concept you just taught. And in the teacher account, you're going to see a summary at the end of your group jam. Now, obviously, my summary only has one person, not super helpful. So I'm going to jump over to a screenshot here to show you what this might look like after your class finishes a jam. This summary analyzes the group's performance, including the students, the students that may have struggled in certain questions and the students that excelled. And then at the bottom, you're also going to see a list of questions that proved to be particularly challenging for this group. So the group jam is a great way to engage your students. One other aspect I think many of you have already found and have been using quite successfully is the live classroom. If you haven't used this yet, I highly encourage you to check it out. Again, it's going to be located in your My IXL section under Classroom Engagement Tools. Now, we have not really gone through, let me just go through here. We have not really gone through too much here on the teacher side for the dashboard. So I want to take a second before I jump into live classroom and really show you what you have on your teacher dashboard. It does offer high-level stats, so you can monitor students' progress across the top, as well as quick access to the most used tools in IXL. So as we're looking at some of these, I just want to highlight a few of the tools that you have at your fingertips before I jump into live classroom. So you'll see your students' recent practice. You're going to see the number of questions they've answered, also the amount of time spent at home and school. You'll see the skills that students have been working on this week and the number of students on IXL right now. This is going to show you just a quick link over to live classroom, and very quickly, because I know many of you have used this, this is going to show you everyone who is currently signed into IXL, the skill that they're currently working on, or if they're working in the diagnostic, or if they're working on a quiz, their current progress noted here, how many questions they've answered, their current SMART score. If you see a gray tile, it indicates a student is idle. If you see a pink tile, it indicates a student might be needing some additional support. They've answered 3 of the last 5 questions incorrectly. If you see a blue tile, it means a student is working outside of skills, whether it's the diagnostic or quiz. And if you see a white tile, it means a student is working on IXL and they're making progress on their own. They don't need any immediate intervention from you. Okay, so jumping back over to our dashboard here. So remember that reaching proficiency in skills is really going to be key to student success. We want them to be working with intention in IXL and not just spending time. So you're going to want to see this number here, the skills proficient, growing throughout the year. Down below, you're also going to have quick access to your teaching tools. So any skills that you've suggested are going to be there under teaching tools, and you can view and manage those skills very easily by deselecting right here. Any pinned skill plans will be listed for you right here on the right-hand side. You can view any quizzes that you've created, any group jams that have recently ended. You can go back and review that group jam summary, or any leaderboards that have been started will be listed here as well. So dashboard is a jumping off point for accessing a variety of data points here. Now, one way I like to use it is by looking at the number of skills practiced this week and using it as a quick jump over to our skills practice report. Now for this, for demonstration purposes, I am going to expand this to this school year. So we have some good data here for you to see, or better data that you can see. And this is going to show you all of the skills your students have been working on recently and provides a quick way for you to check in on their progress on those skills. It's also going to highlight areas where students are struggling. So if I do keep it at that 7 days, maybe I'll just select only my 5th grade students. That might give us a better picture of what our students have been working on. With one glance, you can see whether most students have worked on your intended skills and if those skills might need a reteach. So you can easily find out more and get the details about a skill by selecting the drop-down arrow. So here I can see the students who have not practiced yet. For those, I can also see the students who have mastered it in case I need any peer support students. And I can see all of my others broken down based on the level of difficulty of the questions that they're currently answering and their SMART score. Anyone who has a triangle exclamation point icon indicates that they are currently stuck in this skill and they might need some support to move forward. Their SMART score has stagnated and they don't seem to be making progress independently. So this gives me a lot of information about whether or not I feel like I can move on in my teaching, or in this case, since there are 17 students who need help out of the group that I have, I'll potentially do a whole class reteach and maybe count on some of my high-flying students to partner up with some of my other students to support them as well. And then if you did want to take a closer look even and really break down this skill, this is really a quick look. If you want more in depth, you could click on the name of the skill here to jump you over to the skill analysis report to get a full breakdown on the number of questions students have answered, how much time they've spent, etc. So that is one of my favorite reports. I want to make sure I highlighted it here for you before we continue to move on into other ways that you might motivate your students. We have our leaderboards. So in addition to the school versus school competition, you also could set up class-wide leaderboards to motivate your students. So if you do want to know more about class-wide leaderboards, definitely drop me an email and I'll share some information so I can show you how to set those up on your own. Your students are automatically going to be included in the district-wide leaderboard, but if you want to do something so you can really monitor who's on top within your own classes, you could do that as well. Now, students are always working very hard on IXL, so we want to make sure that we are really celebrating them in any way that we possibly can. And these leaderboards are a really great way to bring that information to the forefront for your students. So as I'm wrapping up here, I do want to be mindful of the time and timeliness of this session. It's unfortunately we couldn't get together virtually today because of the snow day. But as you're watching this and thinking about ways that you can motivate and engage your students, don't hesitate to reach out to me. There are some great teacher resources available. I want to make sure that you know where to find them. In your teacher account, again, in my IXL on the right-hand side, you have all sorts of resources at your disposal. So if you're looking to access some implementation guides, or perhaps you're looking for some sort of a printable resource, I would definitely go here first to see if we have something that you could use in your classroom. If you're looking to align to that leaderboard, there's some great printable resources that you could put celebrations up. There's some great certificates available. So this is something that you could do within your classroom to keep students motivated. And all of these resources are available under that My IXL tab again. So as we come to the end of our time together here, I do want to remind you that there are many ways to use IXL in your classroom. I know many of you have been using IXL very successfully beyond the strategies that we talked about today. IXL really is one platform with endless possibilities, and I'm excited for all of you to have maybe some new strategies to motivate your students to be as intentional as possible in their IXL practice. Thank you for taking the time to watch this session today. I do appreciate any feedback that you have. So if you want to take a moment, geez, my computer doesn't want to stop on this screen, to partake in a brief survey. I welcome any feedback so that we can incorporate that into future sessions. On the screen is my contact information as well. As I said earlier, Maureen S@IXL.com is my email address. If you have any questions about the school-wide competition or the school-to-school competition, ask the administrators in your buildings or send questions my way, and I can try to answer those questions for you. If you have any technical type questions, our tech team is top-notch and they're very responsive. You can feel free to reach out to them directly. Their email address is help@IXL.com. So again, I do appreciate you all spending your time watching this video and walking through the information to help better motivate and encourage your students to get the most out of the platform. Have a great rest of the day and reach out at any time if I can be of help.